the president has really recently concluded a successful diplomatic outing. It was all over the news. He was in China, and a number of summits were held. And, you know, so that's what we will be looking at this morning, the potentials for, you know, the country in those deals. Quite a number of deals were reached. And my guest this morning is a veteran journalist, writer, policy analyst, Mr. Niyi Akinsiju. He joins us remotely from our Abuja studio. Good morning to you, Mr. Akinsiju.
Good morning, sir. A pleasure to
thank you very much for making the time available for us out of your tight schedule this morning. Now, let me just, we have heard from the president on this matter in terms of his enthusiasm and the potential for all of these. He went with a comprehensive team, not just ministers, but also state governors, and a lot of opportunities emerged. Deals were signed, ministers signed deals, governors signed deals, and that's apart from the president himself. Now, let me just jump in with both feet and say a number of people, after being encouraged by the president's assessment, and indeed what we did see by ourselves, they still have apprehensions about how is all of this going to be paid for? Because it's not a charity show from the Chinese government. There are all sorts of dynamics involved. On the one hand, China, you know, is very interested on the global stage, and especially as it relates with Africa. There's that competition there between China and America, and then they have shown, shall I say, the Chinese have shown that, look, business is business. That's one thing. We had some sovereign assets that were actually seized quite recently, and these were assets that, you know, where the Chinese government was actually involved in all of this. None of it done spitefully. All of it from the point of view of business is business. Now, so I guess that my preamble is to sort of set the scene for why some people are a bit concerned. And can you allay our fears, allay our fears, I beg your pardon, can you allay our fears as to that particular provision? We have been known to default in the past. If any such default were to happen now, what would it be portending for those deals? Let me just start from there, and the other questions will be coming along.
Thank you very much. I think we need to also properly situate the context, you know, of the president's visit. As you noted, you described it as a diplomatic shuttle. Yes, it is a diplomatic shuttle, but much more than that, it is an economic diplomatic shuttle, what you call economic diplomacy. Where you have economic diplomacy, the principal theme of any visitation under that theme, it has to do with engineering or engendering mutual economic benefits to the two parties.
Yes.
And if you also look at the history, either at the level of economic trade and the related issues around the relationship between Nigeria and China, in fact, the truth is that we need China more than China needs us. If you look at the recent trade balance, you know, trade threshold between the two countries, while we have less than 3 billion or 3% of exports from Nigerian exports to China, China is the lead import supplier into Nigeria, actually accounting for more than 30% of total import trade to Nigeria. And so what that tells you is that we have an imbalance, an unfavorable trade term with China. So, and every sovereign jurisdiction at every point in time desires way to balance, or at least to create a sort of relativity that will not be too unfavorable to that jurisdiction when you come to trade matters. And for us to do that, we need China to continue to facilitate, our capacity in country, so that over time we can also grow, especially be able to also meet them at the level of exports, for the kinds of goods and services they may desire. So I think the president had properly and appropriately targeted China in a way that we should, from the disadvantage we are coming from in terms of a trade relationship, benefit from their own capacity and capability. And as you also noted, relationship with China is not exactly pivoted on underhand interest, sovereign interest-driven philosophy as we have with the Western world, those we call the global North, for instance. The global North would always have national interest, guiding whatever forms their relationship with the global South, especially with countries in Africa. China wants to expand, yes, but it wants to expand profitably, and I think there's nothing wrong about that. And of course, if they are relating with Nigeria, they want to also relate with Nigeria from the point of view of making some money. And but for me, as long as the money, as long as the trading profits is mutual, it's an appropriate interest to drive. So, talking specifically about deals that were signed during this last visit by the president, I think the important thing, we can first do a flashback. There was a period between 2008 and perhaps 2020 that many Chinese companies were involved in so many activities in the country, in Nigeria. Chinese countries were more or less the drivers of our train line constructions, railway line constructions, road constructions, and so many other things. But all of a sudden, I don't know if Nigerians are seen, or rather observed, that the tempo, of that relationship had gone down. It's as a result of a number of things. But I don't think properly it's as a result of default, because their relationship with us, either in terms of fiscal or monetary engagement, is not up to 20 years, so we cannot be defaulting yet. But the important thing is that there has been a lot of suspicion, around their engagement, driven mostly by the global North, driven mostly by Nigerians that don't even have enough information on the kind of businesses and deals, that are being consummated between Nigerian companies and Chinese companies. So going forward, I think what the president has done is to resurrect this relationship. And I can see that he specifically targeted companies that are existing already, that have existing relationship and projects in Nigeria. Chinese railway construction company, for instance. Chinese civil engineering construction company that had been involved in so many road construction in Nigeria. Why? It's the technology. That's the big technology company, perhaps the first or second largest in the world, that had also been involved in so many activities, trading activities in Nigeria. So, by such engagement, one, there's a resurrection, of what we've had before. And I think going forward, that will also create a lot of activities in different sectors of the Nigerian economy.